Hello everyone, I am just Shiny and today we're going to be watching TikTok scary stories. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that like and ring that bell so you'll be notified every time I post a video. Okay, cool.
I am back with another spooky story. And this one, you don't want to watch at night. But y'all don't listen to me anyway, so let's get into it. This story is my roommate's story. And we're gonna call my roommate Ellie. That's her name. So Ellie and her brother had a time in their childhood where they were in the foster system awaiting adoption. Ellie and her brother winds up getting moved from the first place that they were staying to a house in Long Island. Now Ellie described this house to be absolutely beautiful. It was a mansion, like decorations, high ceiling, definitely no house that she's ever been to before. And it wasn't just Ellie and her brother that was moved to this house. A bunch of kids from the group home that she was originally staying at were too moved to this house. So it's day one and the kids are exploring the house. Around that time, Ellie must have been 7 and her brother must have been 5. So all the kids are in this humongous house and they're all just exploring the space. Someone winds up coming around and designates each kid to a room. Ellie got put in a room with her brother and 2 other children. So keep in mind, as this is happening, as the kids are getting more acclimated to the house, this is all happening in broad daylight. So it hasn't even gotten dark yet. Kids get put into their rooms to put their stuff down, and they notice the closet in the room. The closet was closed, but for some reason, the kids, they seemed to be intrigued by this closet. So they decided that they were actually going to open the closet and go through it and just see what's in there. And before I tell you guys what happened, I want you guys to be able to picture the closet. The closet had shelves. And what the kids at the time did not know was that the last shelf on the closet actually led up to an attic. It was kind of like a secret entrance to the attic. So picture it like this, right? What the kids did not know though was that the top shelf would lead to an attic. And obviously the closet was much bigger than that. So at this point, the kids walk in, they're looking at the closet. You know, it's just a closet at this point. They see the shelves, but you know, they can't see on top of it. So it's cool. They'll put their stuff down and go on about their business. One of the kids reported to hearing thumping in the closet, as if like there was somebody in the closet. But again, they had opened the closet earlier and there was nobody in there. So what the fuck is that noise and where is it coming from? They kept hearing it and the noise would intensify. Footsteps, thuds. So the kids went to the family of the house, which I'm assuming the owner of the house, and told them about the noise that they're hearing in the closet. So the family of the house decided to go investigate and see what could be making the noise in the closet. So Ellie and her brother, being nosy, decided to go with the family to go check out what it was that was making the noise in the closet. So they opened the closet door and you know, they walk in and everybody's just looking. So Ellie and her brother are standing there just looking around and the family is looking around with them investigating. It seems like the noise and the stomping is coming from up. So one of the members from the family picked one of the kids up so they can like be able to get a better view of what was going on up there. So as the little boy is like reaching up there to see what's going on, just like a scary movie, y'all, why the little boy got snatched into the attic. Ellie and her brother saw this with their own 2 eyes. They stood there and they watched this little boy literally get yanked and pulled into the attic. Everybody starts freaking out. Everyone. Kids are petrified, the family is horrified, and young Ellie at the time decided that she had seen enough. She has no idea what happened to that little boy. Decided to run outside and call ACS. Y'all better come pick me and my brother up because I don't know where the fuck y'all got me right now. She explained the situation to the people about the little boy being snatched into the closet. At that point, the little boy still hasn't come out. Literally, ACS rushed over and got all of the kids out of the house. Had all the kids standing outside. They refused to let anybody come back inside of the house. And eventually, they took the kids and left and they never went back to the house. If you're wondering what happened to that little boy, so am I. I have no idea. Ellie has no idea. They literally had the kids standing outside. Then they took the kids and just drove off and they never heard anything back from that. And from there, they were moved to the next house. Thank you guys so much for watching this story. If you enjoyed these mysterious, spooky stories, you better follow me on TikTok. In my bio, I have a link tree. You'll be able to find my YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube for longer, better, spooky stories. While you're at it, go ahead and follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. Please. This one was definitely a spooky one. If you have a spooky story that you think is interesting enough that you'd like me to tell, feel free to DM me that story on Instagram or send me a voice note. I like those better. So seriously, if your grammar is ass, just send me a voice note. Don't piss me off because I be getting brain aneurysms trying to read these stories. Send voice notes. I have plenty more ghost stories, not just from Ellie, but Ellie's friend Shayna. We were all sharing ghost stories yesterday and I was like, oh yeah, this is about to be the next series. Because Ellie went on to live in another haunted house after that where a little girl's spirit lived in her bedroom. And Shayna had a very strange encounter when she was just a little girl. I can't wait to tell you guys all about it. Make sure you guys leave a comment letting me know which story you guys want to hear first, and what did you guys think about today's story from your favorite Haitian homegirl.
Girl, that little girl was on the right track. We shared thoughts. Hey, come pick me up now. Come pick me up now. Cause ain't no way. I'm not doing this. Like other people be like, yeah, we lived with it for a week, months, years. Oh no. The moment I figure out something's wrong, like something's creepy, like somebody got, oh, I'm not getting got. Calling, get me up out here. Cause what? That was crazy. What? Did they ever go up to the attic? Like, I have so many questions that I don't know if I want the answer to or not. Anyway, go follow her. I'm pretty sure well, as you see, she has many stories. Get your spook on. Because I don't know if I want to hear more. Because we already know. I'm a little scared of cat, you know. Y'all are watching this with me. I appreciate you guys so much. Because I don't know if I could have did this by myself. Oh no.
Okay, so I have creepy story time, because I've always had like paranormal experiences or unexpected experiences just throughout my life, like growing up in like multiple different occasions. And there's one that's always really like a core memory, like really stuck out to me, is when I was in 7th grade. And so I know these things weren't like little kid, you know, fever dream things. Am I remembering it correctly? No, I was in 7th grade. I was old enough to like know. My best friend at the time, the neighborhood that we grew up in was an older neighborhood. All the houses there are pretty old. It was, yeah, definitely an old neighborhood. And her house was terrifying. It had such a heavy feeling in certain parts, and it was a small house. It only had one bathroom for the entire house. And I would put off going to the bathroom like as long as possible, because it was scary. Like the like vibe of the bathroom when you would go in there, it was so heavy and you just get really anxious. You want to just get out of there. Like it was just like the worst feeling. I don't know why, I just felt like dread. And then her room was the worst too. And so I remember when I would have sleepovers there, we would never sleep in her room. She would never hang out in her room. Like, she would literally go in her room to get, like, the bare minimum. Like, if she needed to get clothes or something. It's like her room was just, like, she was terrified of it. So we would always sleep upstairs, but her room was. And there was one of the first couple of times that I had slept over at her house. I didn't know she was being, like, a little over the top with it, or, you know, because I hadn't experienced anything yet. So I said, let's just try to sleep in your room. Like, I want to see if it's actually as bad as you're saying. And yeah, we didn't make it the whole night. It just, that heavy feeling that you would get in the bathroom, it was like the same time. Like, she was like, oh, once it gets like dark and it's like bedtime, it gets really bad. And it was like 10:30 at night. This feeling just like immediately changed in the room. It was the weirdest thing. And then I remember her closet door wouldn't stay shut. It kept opening. So I was like, all right, that's enough. I've seen enough. I want to get out. Just like that feeling was enough for me. And then the door kept opening every time we'd shut the closet door. So then we went upstairs, and then later that night, we were both just sleeping on, like, the floor, and I remember waking up to hearing, like, dishes, right? Like, so I woke up, and the way the living room was is you could see straight into the kitchen. Like, it was, like, an open, big doorway. You could see right into the kitchen from where we were, like, in the living room. And I remember, like, kind of waking up and like looking over my shoulder to see like if someone was awake or what that noise was, and I see this bowl coming out of the cupboard, like someone's holding it, but obviously nobody's there, right? This bowl literally in the air and then going onto the kitchen table. And I was like, my friend was like fast asleep. I didn't want to like, you know, let whatever it was know that I was like awake. So I rolled over and I went back to sleep, or like I tried to. Eventually I fell back asleep. So that was probably the first time I had something really big happen at her house. And then the other time that really, well, there's 3 times in particular that were really like scary for me. The second time is we were sleeping in the living room again on the floor, and she had fallen asleep before me, and I was watching, I still liked cartoons when I was in 7th grade, whatever, I don't care. I was watching this show called Dexter's Laboratory. I don't know if you guys remember what that show is. Dexter's Laboratory. And it's like super late night. I don't know what time it is. But she's asleep. I'm the only one like awake in the living room. And then all of a sudden the TV changes to SpongeBob. And I'm like, what the heck? So I change it back to Dexter's Laboratory. And immediately it goes back to SpongeBob. And I'm like, crap. And I change it back. Because at first I'm like, I'm not really registering like what's happening. And then after that, like third time I changed it back, it just went to the like blank screen that had all the fuzzy noise and everything, the white noise screen. And then I realized at that point I was like, and it got scared, and I just like changed it back to SpongeBob and like left the TV alone. And then the last time that really scared me is we were down in her basement living room, and her older brother and his friends were over. So they were like teenagers at the time. And they were talking about this ghost girl and how they think it's a girl, like a little girl and everything. And they were like, yeah, like you can feel her sitting on the couch next to you down here sometimes. Like if you tell her to come sit by you, you'll feel it. Or she'll like sit on your lap. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So then her brother's like, okay, sit down and I'll show you. And so I sit down on the couch, and he says, okay, if you're in here, can you come sit on her lap? And all of a sudden, I'm not kidding, I feel this heavy, like when someone sits on your lap, I felt that pressure. And I was like, okay, tell her to get off. Like I don't want to just like stand up and make whatever it was mad, but I was like, ask it to get off. And I went straight upstairs, and like after that time, I really would not go back into her basement. And then she ended up like moving away, and we lost contact. But that is probably one of my biggest like paranormal experiences that I had growing up, was that it really, I still can't explain those things to this day. And they were, like I said, I was, you know, in 7th grade, I was old enough to know, like, my memory, I think, is still, like, good enough at that point to where I know what's real versus not. And, yeah, there was no explanation for those things. So it was just, those were, yeah, some pretty, at the time, they were pretty scary and overwhelming for me, for sure.
First of all, her eyes are scary. Maybe it's just me. I've never seen baby blue eyes, I don't think. Because my great grandpa, he has blue eyes. They're like, you know, like the regular color blue, like royal blue, like, you know, blue eyes. He has blue eyes. If you ever saw him in person, he's a dark-skinned man with blue eyes. I mean, everybody in my family has colorful eyes. I'm the first generation to have brown eyes. My mom has like hazel light brown eyes. I'm the only one. Like my uncle, blue eyes like his dad. My grandma has green eyes. Her mama has green eyes. You know, everybody has colorful eyes in my family. So I'm the first. So that threw me off. It was a little scary. It was a little scary. Not even gonna lie. Friend, you have a good friend. That was a good friend to warn you. Like, oh, okay, so you're going to spend a night? Let me let you know what's going on in my house, because we've heard a lot of stories where they don't warn. They don't warn their friends. They just let them go through it. She warned us so much. She was like, we're not even going to sleep in my room. We're going to sleep somewhere I know is safe. You see in a bowl? When she said a bowl, I automatically knew that it was a little kid ghost. Because think about that. Like, at nighttime, I'm that person. I just bought some cereal. I'm getting a bowl down for cereal. I only eat cereal in a glass bowl that I can see through. Because, you know, it's better. It's just better. I eat my cereal with freezing cold milk. My milk is slushy. Like, this is how you do it. So, yeah, knew it. When she was like, I was watching Dexter's Laboratory, and they turned it to SpongeBob. Well, SpongeBob is better. Like, let's just be honest, millenniums. SpongeBob is better. Love Cartoon Network, but... you know, so yeah, when she said that, I was, oh yeah, this is a little kid. You better turn it. Because the moment, y'all know, we all seen The Grudge, The Ring, like all the stuff. When it goes fuzzy on the TV, something might come out, something might climb out. So turn it to what they want to watch. You can watch that. It's fine. Go to sleep. Go to bed. Why you up? But I am that type of person. When I was younger, I go to somebody's house, I stay up all night basically. Because I knew I was going to sleepwalk. So I didn't want to sleepwalk. So I would just stay up all night. So I wouldn't sleepwalk. I would be so tired that I wouldn't move in my sleep. So yeah. Understand that. And the older brother, you wilded out. The fact that you even let it, he was just like, let me show you. And you were just like, okay. And then it happened, and I would have freaked out. I would not have been there again. She said, I just didn't go back to the basement. No, I wouldn't have been to the house. Like, what? That's, They was playing games. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine? I couldn't. Because I wouldn't want anything to touch me. I don't want anything alive to touch me. Why would I want anything, you know? Not alive. Wow.
This is going to sound weird, but bear with me. When I was in high school, there was a kid who told everyone he was a demon. I don't feel comfortable even writing his name for reasons you'll soon understand. I'm just going to call him Patrick, even though his name sounds like something out of a Shakespeare play. He was extremely socially awkward and walked around with a super empty stare that made even teachers uncomfortable. He wore the same blank gray hoodie literally every single day. I'm not exaggerating. I'm pretty sure he never washed the thing since he always smelled terrible too. He was decently short and pretty average looking, although you wouldn't be able to tell since he always had his hood up. He never took his sunglasses off, even inside. Teachers eventually stopped asking him to because he would never listen anyway. Now comes the weird stuff. He didn't have any friends, but had this weird tendency to adopt people. What I mean by that is, if he liked you, which he could decide randomly one day, he would walk up to you and say, "You're adopted," meaning you were part of his circle or whatever. Apparently this would make you safe from him or something. That's at least what he'd say about it. He didn't really like that many people though, so few people were ever really adopted. I was one of those few. Looking back, it was probably because he had a crush on me. None of us believed his demon spiel, and everyone just assumed he was a troubled kid, which he definitely was. Oh yeah, I should probably mention that this all takes place in Wayne, Pennsylvania, which is where I grew up. Another girl I used to be friends with, Gabby, had also been adopted by him. Patrick's crush on her was a little more obvious, and all my friends knew it. One day, my friends and I were chilling on the dugouts behind our high school, killing time and doing God knows what. It was me, Gabby, Laura, and Luke. I can't exactly remember how it happened, but the topic of conversation floated over to Patrick's crush on Gabby. We were all laughing about it, and Gabby was pretty obviously embarrassed. I can't remember what it was, but there was a nickname we'd substitute for Patrick's name, because his real name was too clunky. This time though, I distinctly remember Laura using Patrick's real name. The third time she said it, I swear in my life that Patrick appeared out of nowhere and jumped on top of the dugout with a baseball bat in his hand. It wasn't scary in a typical sense, but it was one of the most unsettling things I'd ever seen up until that point. We quickly stopped talking, nervous that he might have overheard us talking about him. He didn't say anything though, and just stared at us. I gave him a little wave, and he nodded in acknowledgement at me before jumping back down to the ground and swiftly walking away. After we were sure he was gone, the four of us burst into laughter, finding humor in how weird the whole encounter was. On the inside though, I was still a little disturbed. The next incident I can remember was significantly more creepy and impossible to laugh about. I was literally in Laura's house, and the two of us were hanging out in her room. Her parents were home. I'm not sure what exactly we were talking about, but again, Patrick's name was said 3 times between the two of us. Not 10 minutes later, we heard Laura's front door slam shut. Confused, we went downstairs to see if one of our other friends had decided to pull up. Laura was friends with everyone and her parents were super chill, so people came and went unannounced when it came to her house. Laura's mom had beaten us to the door though. We turned the corner of the living room and stared in shock at Patrick, who was just standing there, talking to Laura's mom. She asked him what he was doing there, to which he literally replied, "I was summoned." Laura's mom made some small talk with him before politely asking him to leave, which he silently did. The reason why more alarm bells weren't going off was because Laura's mom actually knew Patrick and pitied him. Laura and I weren't as calm about the situation though. As we walked back up the stairs, we talked to each other with horrified faces about how creepy that was. A few minutes later, we made the connection between the two events. He seemed to pop up when his name was uttered 3 times. I know how ridiculous this sounds, but we had both witnessed 2 unexplainable events and knew Patrick's history of claiming to be a demon. How else could someone else rationalize what had taken place? We told all of our friends about the incident the next day, and our friend group swore to never say his name 3 times in one conversation again. Things were going well for a few months, and I started to think that maybe I had overreacted. That is, until one day, when my same group of friends were hanging out at my other friend Johnny's house. We were chilling on his back deck when the topic of conversation again found itself concerning Patrick. Despite all of our efforts to convince him, Johnny refused to believe what we told him about Patrick. Even after confirming the story with the entire group, he was still skeptical. To display his disbelief, he jokingly used Patrick's name 3 times in the same sentence, to our dismay. When nothing happened, he grinned and told us we were stupid to believe something so ridiculous. As annoyed as I was, part of me was relieved that he hadn't shown up. I spoke too soon though, because a few minutes later, Patrick jumped over Johnny's backyard fence Johnny noticed him first and stopped speaking mid-sentence. The rest of us followed suit and went dead silent, nervous about what Patrick might do this time. We watched as he stared at us for a few seconds before jumping back over the fence and disappearing out of sight. Johnny started freaking out and accused us of conspiring with Patrick to scare him. We told him that we literally begged him not to say anything. We sat in silence for a while before Johnny eventually told us all to go home, clearly shaken from the experience. The last experience I had concerning Patrick was definitely the scariest and most disturbing. It was the only one where I felt like my life might have actually been in danger. A few months after the incident at Johnny's house, I was home alone one night. My parents rarely left the house back then, so this was a rare occurrence. I decided to take advantage of the situation and invited a boy over whom I'd been talking to. He was kind of a tool, but so were most of the guys I was talking to at that age. We were hanging out in my room, and it was lightly raining outside. After a while, he mentioned something about Patrick, which made me visibly cringe. He got confused, so I explained the situation to him. He burst out laughing and told me he was going to say Patrick's name to scare me. I begged him not to, but he did it anyway. Only this time, he didn't just say it. He literally screamed Patrick's name 3 times at the top of his lungs. There was no delay this time. The moment he finished yelling, I could hear the rain instantly pick up outside. A few seconds later, there was a flash of lightning. I started to freak out. The guy I was with actually seemed sorry and told me it was probably just an extremely unlikely coincidence. I cursed him out and ran to my window to look at the storm. I glanced down to look at my driveway and screamed when I saw a silhouette of a person looking up at my window. It was too dark and stormy to know for sure, but I was 99% certain that it was Patrick. I shut the blinds and rushed downstairs to make sure all the doors were locked. After locking the back door, I saw that person again. Only this time, he was standing motionlessly in my front yard. I felt a panic attack coming on, and I knew Patrick was going to find a way inside my house. I started screaming, "But I'm adopted," over and over again, hoping that would do something. I know there was no way he'd have been able to hear me, but my brain was all over the place at that point. The guy I was with ran down the stairs a few seconds later and picked me up off the kitchen floor in an attempt to comfort me. I looked out the window again, and he was gone. The storm was still coming down like crazy though, but it's not like I was going to search the property anyway. The next morning, after that guy had left, I went out to inspect my yard. To my horror, I found something sinister in the far corner of my backyard. It was Patrick's hoodie, and wrapped inside of it were a couple random belongings of mine that I assumed I lost. My parents were gone another day, and I was too scared to call the police. I figured I'd show my parents what I had found after school the next day, and they'd take it from there. I never had to, though. The next day, Patrick didn't show up to school. He didn't show up the day after that either. None of us ever saw him again, and no one knew what happened to him. My parents still live in the same house, which is something I think about a lot. I know this isn't your typical scary story, but I'm not sure where else to vent about this. A few people from school told me they caught Patrick hiding and eavesdropping on their conversations, which could explain how he was able to show up out of nowhere. As I've grown older and thought back on the whole thing, I think what makes the most sense is Patrick was just a mentally ill stalker who followed me and possibly other girls around, hence why he was always able to appear when his name was brought up. It skeeves me out just imagining him following me around all over the place, listening to me. I don't even want to wonder where he is today.
Yo, that story scared the mess out of me because I can relate. That's why it's so scary to me. You know, when your parents be like in school to be nice to the weird kids and everything. Well, y'all already know that I was nice to the weird kid. I was the weird kid's girlfriend. Like, he was crazy. Y'all know he used to put staples in his head and everything. Like, he did stuff. But now that I think about it, when me and my friends hung out, because we hung out at the dugout. We hung out at the dugout. When me and my friends hung out, he would always just pop up. Anytime we'd be talking about him, he would just pop up. All the time. And it's just like, and I remember one year, he just disappeared too. So, yeah. I don't know. That just hit home too close to home. I didn't like it. She talked about he was probably a mentally ill stalker. And it's just like, maybe. Because I was just thinking the other day about saying the name 3 times. Because y'all know I was watching Beetlejuice on my birthday. And I was just like, oh my God, maybe there's something real to that. Let me not say nobody's name 3 times and, you know, some of them like, what? We could have had D words at our school as a kid. You, like, thinking about that. That could have been a thing. Those weird kids that were just like, what is wrong with them? Weird. Like, it could have been, you know, just imagine. Oh, bruh. That was real scary. And oh, I would have beat that little boy. I would have beat his donkey. Because what? I wouldn't even have him over my house for one. But I would have beat his. If you thought I was playing, I hate when people do that. I hate when I tell people I don't like something and then they proceed to continue to do something I don't like. That's a surefire way to get me upset. I would be upset, like ready to fight upset. And in that moment, I would have been ready to fight him. I would have fought him if I, you know, wasn't scared of the what could have happened with Patrick. If I would be like, oh, okay, well, you got to be unalive first. Like, he got to get you first. He like me. You the one who called his name. So, but that's weird. You find his sweatshirt with yo stuff in it. That means he was in the house with you, girl. He was in the house. He was stealing your stuff in the house. Or oh, it's just too much. It was too much. I low-key want to cry because I'm really scared. Subscribe.